Hi there, this is Wolfhound-Nine, and we're going to continue looking at carbines today, namely the ACW-R. In the real world, it was fielded as a possible replacement for a weapon you're probably familiar with, the M4. In Battlefield, it's going to be the first carbine you unlock with the AK-5C. You might also be familiar with it from the beta, where it featured as one of the only two carbines you could unlock. So what makes it special? Well, the first thing you're going to notice is its high rate of fire. It's got a full 880 rounds per minute. It's not the fastest gun in the game, but it is the fastest gun in the carbine class in terms of rate of fire, and you're going to chew people up in close quarter combat. The downside to this is that you're going to work through your 30 round magazine fairly quickly, but the ACW-R actually has pretty fast reloads, which is uncommon for weapons with its fire rate. Its recoil is also relatively good considering its rate of fire. Most high rate of fire weapons in Battlefield 4 are actually pretty hard to control. This one isn't too bad though. Its worst component is probably the fact that its horizontal recoil is asymmetrical and will pull slightly to the left. Its first shot modifier is the second highest in the carbine class though, so you're going to have a bit of a harder time burst firing. Aside from that, it's got standard statistics. It's got 25 damage up to 8 meters, dropping down to 15.4 damage at 50 meters, and it's got the standard spread for the carbine class. All of this conspires to make the ACW-R a really great gun in close quarters, but that's not why I liked it the most. What I particularly enjoyed about this gun is that it was a close quarters weapon that could be still effective at medium ranges. This is important because a lot of the high rate of fire weapons in Battlefield 4 are really hard to use at a long range. If you want to know what I'm talking about, try using the FAMAS or the G18 at any kind of range except close. They get really impossible and really kicky. What extends this range even more is an appropriate selection of attachments, so we should go ahead and get into that. I think the combination is fairly obvious, especially if you're going to try and extend its effective range. First, you're going to want to use the laser or the laser light combo. There's no real reason to use anything else right now, and the hip fire accuracy will help you out. Next, go ahead and slap on an angled foregrip. You don't want this weapon to be too kicky when you're trying to burst fire, and if you try and use it with its basic first shot modifier, you're going to have troubles. Next, go ahead and stick a compensator on it to manage the horizontal recoil. It's got high recoil in all directions, but in general, if a weapon has high horizontal recoil, you want to reduce that first because it's harder to control and compensate for manually. With all of those attachments together, you should be able to do fairly well at most ranges. You're not going to be able to suddenly start headshotting at a long range, but you'll be perfectly effective at medium range, and if you're accurate enough, you can get a lot of bullets on target before they even have a chance to shoot at you. Now, if you don't mind being restricted to closer ranges, you can go ahead and slap a suppressor on this. There are going to be better carbines for this task, and I'll cover them later on, but you'll do just fine with a suppressed ACW-R. The only attachment I would avoid using is the heavy barrel. This weapon's kicky enough without it, and the decreased spread isn't going to help you because at longer ranges your weapon's just going to be kicking up too high to be useful. Now that we've gone through the attachments, I think my usage recommendations are going to be fairly straightforward. It's a great close quarters gun. You can tell that from the fire rate alone. Its only shortfalling in that realm is basically its hip fire, and to be frank, if you stick a vertical foregrip along with a laser sight on there, it'll be perfectly competitive with bullpup configurations. What might surprise you is that this isn't my favorite weapon for close quarter engagements. What I'm going to show you tomorrow is why the Ace 52 might be better for that. But what I do love this gun for is that it is a close quarters weapon that can still be effective at medium ranges. I like it particularly on maps like Dawnbreaker where you're mostly stuck close up, but there are these long flanks where you have to shoot people at a distance. If you're using something like the Ace 52, it could be really hard, but with the ACW-R and the right attachments, you're actually perfectly good at a range. Now, there's not much else to say about this weapon. Like any other carbine, you can use it with any class, so it makes it really easy to adapt to a situation without having to adapt to a new primary. I think that's one of the biggest strengths of the carbine class of weapons. That's it. I'm curious to know what your opinions are about the ACW-R. I personally like it, but it's not my favorite. I find it's a little too hard to handle. The recoil is a bit too much. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be covering the Ace 52, and you're going to see why that's actually one of my favorite guns in the game as well, and why I think it does better in close quarter engagements than the ACW-R. So, if you found this useful, maybe give it a like and a favorite, and cheers! Good luck on the battlefield.